Okay, so here we go. We're going to do Nachamul Chazara.
Even for whoever wants it, I could send it forward.
There you go. Nachamul Chazara. Nachamul Chazara, we're going to do again the story of Hilni Amalka on the bottom of Beis and Beis. The reason is, first of all, because Chazara is always Gevaldik. And
many people missed Yisharit.
the second reason is because some people missed last night. Again, Nachamul, I didn't post the Chazara today. I don't think they learned the Chazar, the Shtickle Legal Holiday Massive. And happens to be this last Shtickle Gemara of Hilni Amalka really chazers over the whole block. Really chazers over the three different Mahalchim where the Machlekes Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim are. So let's take it from there. So we're going to start from Meisvei. We're about 15 lines from the bottom of Beis Amid Beis. The first word in the line is Amois Divrei Hakol. We're going to ask a kasha on as we'll see, a kasha on Rav Huna and Rav Chanan. To remind ourselves, we have three potential ways of learning the machlekes in the Mishnah. We have a machlekes in the Mishnah. Rav Yehuda versus the Chachamim, whether a sukkah can be 20 amos or not. We have three ways of learning that machlekes. Is the machlekes only when the fanois do not reach the schach, but when the walls reach the schach, everyone holds its kosher? Is the machlekes only when it's a small sukkah less than daled al daled, but when it's a larger sukkah more than daled al daled, then there's still shade coming down from the top? Or is the machlekes only when it's less than zayin al zayin? When it's more than zayin al zayin, then it's going to be kosher. That last step, we didn't find anyone that explains as such. But those three ways of potentially explaining the Mishnah, we're now going to ask on. So Meisvei asks the Gemara, Sukkah shehi gavayam lamayla me'asir mama. A sukkah taller than 20 amma is psula of Rav Yehuda machshad arban v'chamisha mama. And we make mention again that I think someone asked, is this arguing on the Mishnah? The Mishnah said that according to Rav Yehuda, it's kosher above 20. Here it seems it's only kosher until 40 or 50. So we made mention that Taisus points out that 40 or 50 is not a precise number, and really it's kosher ad infinitum, just like the Mishnah says. Omar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda proves his point from a story. Can you just pass the water, please? Omar Rabbi Yehuda. Shkoyach. Thank you so much. Maisa behilni amalka. A story with Hilni Amalka belut. Shaisa sukasa gavaya me esrim amma. Here. Her sukkah was taller than esrim amma. V'hayu zikenim nichnasim v'yaitzim l'sham. So not only was her sukkah taller than 20 amos, she's only a malka. What's the raya? The zikenim, the elders, went and visited her on sukkahs. And they didn't say anything. End of raya of Rav Yehuda. Says Rav Yehuda is not a raya. This is clearly a proof that you're allowed to have a sukkah more than 20. As clearly the Chachamim visited her and had no problem with her massive sukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihiyeh b'devarei. Amru lai, the Chachamim respond to Rav Yehuda. Misham raya, isha isa. Upatura min ha-sukkah. She's pater from a sukkah. Amar lahen. 1 second. She had her 7 sons with her. Void. And number 2, even if you'll tell me she was a woman, seemingly that's the way we understand it. We'll see the Gemara will explain in a moment. Kol ma'isel lo yasal bi chachamim. Everything she did was via the chachamim. So, very good, she's a woman. But seemingly, she would have asked the chachamim about this. End of seemingly conversation. Now the Gemara chimes in. Why do you need to ask? You have one kasha, that she had her 7 kids with her. That's enough. Why are you adding salt to the wound? Kicking the guy when he's down? You asked the kasha, it's a good kasha, leave it. Why are you adding in? Everything she did was bichacham. So explains the Gemara, this is what was going on. This is what was going on. This is what Rabbi Yehuda was responding to the Chacham. Ki time rubanim ketanu are you? Uketanim b'tiru min ha-sukkah. If you're going to tell me that her children were ketanim, and ketanim are pater from the sukkah, v'ki von the shiva hayu havu. Since there were 7 First of all, there has to be one that Einay Tzarech L'imay. As we said, it could be the kid is 7, 8 years old, but the kid is Einay Tzarech L'imay. Definitely the oldest of 7 is Einay Tzarech L'imay once they're 7, 8 years old. Maybe a single child that's 7, 8 years old is still Tzarech L'imay, a little bit too attached. But one of 7 certainly is Einay Tzarech L'imay. V'chi te'imru, and now Rav Yehuda anticipating what the Chachamim might respond. And if you're going to tell me, Kodesh Tzarech L'imay b'derabbananu, Shkayach, it's a derabbanan to b'chayiv. And she's a woman, b'derabbanan lo mishkachas. And she's a woman, and maybe. Excuse me, said better, very good. Not after she's a woman. Maybe stam. Maybe she just doesn't care about the rabbanans. On that, Tashema, that's where Rav Yehuda added on the salt. Call myself asa bichacham. It's not true. She always followed the words of the chacham. Period. End of brisa. End of raya of Rav Yehuda the Cham. This is Rav Yehuda's raya. End of raya. Now, Bishlama, 3 lines to the bottom. Based on this conversation between Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim, the Gemara now is going to prove Rav Chanan, Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna, etc. Bishlama now says the Gemara. 3 lines on the bottom, middle of a beautiful chazar. Bishlama l'man da'amar. I understand according to the man da'amar. B'shein devanais magias l'schach. That when do Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim argue? Specifically when the defanais, the walls do not reach the schach, that is where a machlaikas is. It makes sense. Why? Because darkoi shel malka leishi v'asukkah she'ein defanais magias l'schach. A malka wants a geshmak sukkah, so she makes windows. What were windows in the time of Chazal? The wall didn't reach all the way up to the roof. A little bit of a tip over here. If your canvas doesn't reach up to the roof, doesn't reach the floor, what do you say? Gewaldig! You pay extra for that. It gives you a bit of extra air. Why? Misham the top of Gimel Amid Aleph. Avira. It gives you a breeze. Gewaldig. So then it makes sense, the conversation. Ella, but according to the other 2 shittais that said that it's not where they're arguing, but rather they're arguing either 4x4 or 7x7. If you're going to tell me that the whole machlokes Rav Yehuda the Chacham is only by a small sukkah, whether small means 7x7 or 4x4, either way, are you going to suggest that Queen Hilni is sitting in this little sukkah? Can't be. So from this story, we can see that Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim must argue even by a big sukkah. Says the Gemara, as the Charaya, we have a proof, not like the opinions that say that they don't argue by a big sukkah. Again, I want to repeat that again. It's a little bit of a difficult raya. Again, we have 3 potential ways of explaining the machlokes. 2 of those ways were size oriented. That once it's bigger than 7x7 or once it's bigger than 4x4, everyone agrees it's kosher. Says the Gemara, clearly not. Because Queen Hilni's sukkah was clearly larger than 7x7 and 4x4. And we see Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim are arguing a gevaldik raya. Amar Rabba bar Rav Ada. No, not such a good raya. Lo nitzurcha el sukkah si kitanius. The sukkah, you're right, the Queen Hilni's sukkah must have been large. But it was made with compartments. And therefore, it was really less than 4x4, less than 7x7. Says Gemara, really? You're telling me she's going to be sitting inside a sukkah of little compartments? Amar Ravashi, yeah. Meaning, it's true, there was a large room, but there were also smaller rooms inside the sukkah. And on that detail is where there's going to be a machlokes. Let's read it and then we'll explain. Rabbanan Savri, again, let's just understand what happened. We basically open up, let's call it a news report. And the news report says that the Chachamim visited Queen Hilni. And the Chachamim saw there was a sukkah taller than 20, and they didn't say anything. Detail number 1. Detail number 2 is there were multiple rooms inside the sukkah. There were some larger rooms and some smaller rooms. Now we can explain what the machlekes Rav Yehuda and the Chacham is. Rabbanan Savri, what do the Rabbanan hold? Baneho b'sukim al yasvi. There were 7 kids, so 7 beats out 1. So the 7 kids were in the large room. V'ihi, and where was she? Yasa b'kitaniyos. Why? Mishum tzniusa. Lamaisa, she was a tsanua. We see she was a woman that asked the Chachamim. She was an upstanding individual. So it's true she had small rooms and large rooms. It's true she was a queen. But says the Gemara, the Rabbanan assumed the kids were in the large room. She was in the small room. And that's why they didn't say anything. Why not? Because the kids were in the large room. So the kids were in what size sukkah? Bigger than 4x4, bigger than 7x7. And therefore the Chacham Ramaskim is able to be bigger than 20. Rav Yehuda Savar, Baneo Gabo Haviyasvi. Says Rav Yehuda, what are you talking about? You think the kids are going to sit without the mama? Favos?
Because now on the Ketonius, it's only her. So
Good.
It's like a woman, it's part of her sukkah. You can't
So,
say
good.
that.
100 me'achos.
No.
So what's the problem? So
much
now,
time.
no, because she was butter. The larger sukkah, where the kids were sitting, was taller than 20, and the Rabbanan in that case are maskim because it's bigger than 4x4, 7x7. Says the Gemara, Rav Yehuda Savar ben Akabavi Yasvi, and Rav Yiluachi Lamar Ladavar, they're all sitting together, and they still don't say anything, and that's why Rav Yehuda thought he had a raya from this case, so it's taller than 20. That is the end of the Gemara. Now, there's one detail that Rashi grapples with. We have 2 size shitas. Let me explain it one more time, and then I'll explain the Rashi again. We have one sheet of 4x4, one sheet of 7x7. The Gemara thought, yes, there's Ma'ariv in a moment. The Gemara thought we had a raya from here. Where are we holding? Baruch Hashem, we're at 9. We're at 9. The Gemara thought that we had a raya from here, that they don't, someone else is here? Gevald, okay, we'll be done in 60 seconds. The Gemara thought we have a raya from here to the sheet that says, Defanos Megias L'Schach. Because we see that they're arguing, and clearly your sukkah was bigger than 4x4. The Gemara says, no raya. Why no raya? Because small rooms. She's in a small room, says the Gemara, the sukkah in multiple rooms. And Gufa, Rav Yehuda, and the Chachamim are arguing what the case was. If they're arguing what the case was, then there's going to be no longer a raya to the size of the sukkah. Ad kan divrei Gemara, gevaldik. We'll end with one detail in Rashi, which is a fine nuance. Rashi still has a problem. Rashi says, you're telling me that 7x7 she might have been in? It's too small. Says Rashi, the Gemara has to be split. And the Gemara has to conclude as a kasha on the Mandamer 7x7. Because it's just not shaykh that this queen was sitting in such a small, even a cubicle. Even Mishum to be sayvel that. So Rashi learns a fascinating detail. That Lamaskonas Gemara, and the Gemara doesn't say this, which is why it's so fascinating. The Gemara ends off, you think there's no raya. We started off Meisvei, we answered up the kasha, and go Medavkin Viter, there's no problem. Says Rashi, no, it's up Shek Zayin Zayin. We'll just conclude, it's not so shver, because Zayin al Zayin couldn't find the Shita, if you remember. Zayin al Zayin on Beis and Beis try to find who it hell's like. The Gemara said Deloy Kechad. Very interesting. What Deloy Kechad? What's going on? So maybe it's not so shver. The Gemara is happy to chuck it on its head. That's the end of the raya. It is a difficult Gemara. I'm happy we did a Chazar Shkaya Chavra. Let's Chazar tomorrow well, and then tomorrow we'll be able to go weiter.